All right, good early evening, everyone, and welcome to the Career Exploration and Job Search Process Summer Series session. I think I'm number 4. My name is Sarah Pengel, and I work in the advising office, but another part of my job that I don't know that people realize is that I also work as the Career Services Advisor. So that means that I do a lot of different things. I help run career fairs. I help working with students and, prospective students on their resume and their job search and everything that kind of goes into that. I also work with students who are kind of completely clueless about what they want to do with their life, and that is okay. When I went into college, I had no clue, and I spent a little bit of time hopping around into, I wanted to be a music major at first. And so I started down that path. And then I was like, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Like, what do I do now? So I was a student at Radford University, and I took advantage of their career services department. And I went in and I took a career assessment. And so that's going to be something that I talk about a little bit today, but that kind of led me down the path that I finished with in college. And obviously, things aren't linear. So I don't want you to go into a career exploration idea. If you schedule something to meet with me, you don't necessarily come out of that appointment knowing what you want to do. What I do in those appointments is I get you thinking about things a little differently. I'm hoping to build a mind of curiosity about yourself, who you are, what you want to get out of your life, what you want to do with your life, who you want to impact. Those kinds of things are important, and figuring out where sometimes seemingly, opposite interests find a dovetail somewhere. And so that's what I do. I do a lot of questioning, do a lot of asking open-ended questions to try to get you to dig a little bit, because when I was first coming out of high school, I had never really done a whole lot of deep thinking about who I am, how I work, what I like to do, who I like to hang out with. I didn't really think that deeply into things. And so that's part of my job, is trying to dig into that. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to go over is about career exploration and what kinds of tools we have that you can use, and what are some things to think about as you're, kind of going through college and exploring the idea of what you want to do. And of course, we all know now things change so rapidly that you can start in one field and completely pivot and go somewhere else. So please don't think if you don't know what you want to do, that you're completely stuck, and that that you can't get out of it, or you can't change what you want to do, or that you have to know right away. Because I think you can talk to pretty much anybody and know that it's not a linear journey. You're going to bounce around, but every experience is going to give you something new and valuable that will tell you something about yourself. So this is our career services page. If you go to our main page, there's a search bar along the top. And right here, it's short right here, but usually it runs here. And you just put in jobs or career services or something related to that, and you'll end up eventually on this page. And so there is a lot of information on here that I'm going to go and so you can go and explore some of this stuff. But the main thing is this big bar right here on top. It's our free online career coach. And this website, hopefully it goes where it needs to go, does a lot of really cool things. So especially when you're in your SDV class, and if you're in your SDV class right now watching this recording, this website is built for all phases of the career journey. So if you are trying to figure out what you want to do, the assessment is over here to the left. So the assessment has 3 different kinds of assessments. I usually like to tell students to take the time and do more than the 6-question assessment. I believe in the SDV classes, they usually go with the 60 question. I just feel like it gets a little bit more narrowed down as to who you are and what you want to do. So the questions are pretty simple. It's a, standard scale of strongly disagree to strongly agree, and then unsure in the middle. Would you like to build kitchen cabinets? Well, I don't know that super appeals to me. I think I'd be excited about it for about 10 minutes. And then I'd go to sit down to do it and realize how much work was involved. And I'd be like, never mind. Would I like to paint them? I don't know. That's something that I work myself up to. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do a transition, and then I don't. So anyway, that's kind of a off the map here, but I would probably be a strongly disagree. Lay brick or tile, same deal, right? So as you're going through this, it's learning something about you, and it's getting information about you and who you are. So at the end of this assessment, it will give you 3 letters that correspond to a type. So for instance, I think I am social. That is my very first thing. I'm enterprising. And then my third is creativity or artistic. So I'm an SEA. The things to know about these letters is that the number one thing that pops up is probably the most important thing about whatever career you get into. So I'm a social person. I need to be around people, working with people, helping people, doing something with people around me. Enterprising, I mean, that's somebody who likes to be creative and come up with new ways of doing things, or, it's a very, it's somebody who likes to change things up and try to do something in a different way. And then the artistic. And so artistic is my third letter. And while it's really important, and it's definitely a main key component of who I am and what I like about things, it doesn't have to be the front and center. The main thing you want to think about is that your job fulfills pretty constantly the first 2. Okay. So what you can do is you take this assessment, you read through everything, you take time with it, and then if you need to meet with me to have more of an in-depth conversation, that gives me a lot more information about you. Because sometimes students come into appointments and I have to do a lot of digging. I don't have a place to start, especially if I don't know you and I don't have background on you. I don't know where to start. So that is what I like to do with the assessment, is I have you take that and then I have you meet with me. The other thing that this website does, which is cool, is kind of gets you to browse some careers. So, when you're a kid and they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, I wanted to be a veterinarian, which that's not something I would do now. I mean, I like animals, but not that much. So I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I knew people who wanted to be doctors, space person, whatever. So they're the jobs and the careers that you hear all the time, firefighter. But there are a lot of jobs, a lot of really different jobs all over the world. And there are some really cool jobs that you don't even know about. So this just skims the surface of some of the different pathways that you can take. So these are actually built to fit in with our pathways at the college. So depending on what you want to do and what you're thinking about, you can look into these things, and actually that assessment will pop out some careers that will that show up as of interest. And sometimes it's really random, and you're like, so you've got to, do your own discernment there. But, if you don't know what human services is and it shows up, and then you realize human services is when you're doing counseling and mental health services. You know, you could work with children, you could work with families, personal services. So this website kind of gives you a breakdown of what these different pathways are. And you can find these by getting into the assessment, and then they're tailored to who you are and what you like to do. Then you get into more specifics. So if you're going to be an industrial organizational psychologist, you're going to maybe make quite a bit of money. But the other thing that you need to notice is the education. I advise a lot of students who want to go into psychology and they want to be a psychologist. And I think a lot of that is coming out of COVID. I think people are realizing that mental health is a very big issue, and we need more really good mental health providers. But you have to know that if you want to be a psychologist, you're looking at degrees of a higher level. And I know that that can be daunting, you know, when you're first starting out in community college and you're getting ready to take your first class, to think, oh my gosh, I have to go all the way to a master's level or a PhD, I have to be a doctorate. You can go slow, take your time. Those things will come. The time is going to pass anyway, and you'll decide, oh, okay, I think I'm ready to go on, if that's what you decide to do. So there are a lot of things that can happen, but try not to be scared off when it says you need to continue on to PhD or doctorate level. School psychologists, yeah, 100% master's or professional degree. So you can look through these and get more information. And then it also shows you the region. So if you are deciding, you know, that you want to move somewhere else, you can put in, these are, you know, the regions in Virginia. Maybe not all of them. It doesn't look like it's everything, but you can put in specific ones. You can put in a radius and look and see what the median salary is for our area. I mean, obviously, if you move to DC, this is going to go way up. Okay. The other thing it does is it kind of breaks down. These are our pathways, breaks down into our pathways. So it just depends on how you're looking through this website, how you want to search for things. But this is where we put you when you're planning to do a specific job. Like if a student tells me they want to go into law enforcement, they would be in the administration of justice program. If you want to, you know, do something related to business, you're probably going to be in the business pathway. I mean, most of them are pretty intuitive as to what they are. There's a resume builder. You can go in and build a resume right in here. The cool thing is when you make a profile, I can pull that profile at any time. So if you build the profile and then you want to meet with me, I can pull things from your profile. I can pull up your career assessment. I can pull up your resume. All those things are sitting right there in your account, and I can pull them up and meet with you. You know how at schools and different things like that, employers and different people will come in and want to hang up a flyer? Well, since we've been virtual, we don't do that as much because there haven't been as many people on campus. I think this fall is going to be a little different. I hope we have a lot of people on campus and it's busy again. But in the meantime, employers call me all the time asking to hire our students. And so they want to know where they can hang a flyer. Well, since nobody's on campus, that doesn't really do them much good. So we have this part of the career coach. Jobs, these employers go in, they build profiles, and then they start posting jobs. And there are 112 live postings in this career coach right now that are people looking for students, either recent graduates or students that are currently, you know, in school right now. There are, you know, it's all over Virginia. So it's Bethesda, Front Royal, Woodstock. So you name it. There are jobs on here from all over the place and all levels of education. So I don't want you to look at this and think, oh, this is just for when I graduate. This is for right now. I have people putting, jobs for lifeguards and, front of the house help at restaurants and things like that. So please, when you're looking for a job, look on this website and see what you can find. Most of the time they will redirect you to another page. So please make sure that you're looking through here to see what's available. I like to see the variety of jobs that pop in. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I realize there are only 2 of you on the line, but you can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself if you have any questions so far. And I'll just pause here for a minute and take a sip. Good question. So Athena asks, where do I find this website again? Okay, so there are a couple different ways. You can either know the website, which is just www.Laurel Ridge, there's an L there, /jobs, and that will take you right to it. Or you can go to our main page and type in jobs. And then student job search is the second link. And then, wait a minute. Nope. Just kidding. Career services is the third link. That's where you're going to go. And it's this free online career coach. So you'll click this and it'll bring you right back here. So I usually go to it straight from the link, which is why I can't find it on a regular basis. Good question. Anything from you, Heisey? You feel good? Okay. So what I kind of want to do now is I kind of want to talk about the job search process. Hopefully, if you're applying to jobs, that process is going well, but there are a few places where you can really improve. I have been working in this job since August last year. Right after school started, I moved into this position, and I started working with someone who had applied for a job at a place they already worked, and they got an interview, got into the interview, and froze. And so this person was not invited back for a second interview. And I really thought that was a shame, because I really was rooting for this student to be able to get a second interview. So what happened was everybody recommended that this student come see me to talk about interview, because the person that they had offered it to walked away from it for whatever reason. And so they had to repost. And this is happening a lot right now. We're having a lot of jobs that will post, we'll go through a whole process, not find the right person, or something falls through, and then we have to post again. So sometimes just because you miss it the first time doesn't mean that it won't come back around. So the student met with me after they had submitted their resume, and we talked about interview. And I sat down with that student for probably over an hour, talking about the ins and outs of interviewing, what to expect, how to answer questions correctly, and what they're looking for more than anything, because I like to demystify the process for students. And I've sat on a lot of committees, and I've seen a lot of things in an interview process. And I like to be able to keep students and other people from falling into those pitfalls. So I sat down with that student. The student got called in for another interview, first round, nailed that interview, went into a second interview, nailed the second interview, and was offered the job. So I like to say that as one of my success stories, but more than anything, that was the student's success story. That student went looking for help when they knew they should have had it in the first place, and tried to figure out, how can I tweak this? How can I be better? How can I get to the next level so that I can get this next job? Because you can look great on paper. You can look awesome on paper. You can have everything right on paper. But if you can't get through that interview process, it's going to stop you every time. I also have been working with someone who has been applying to jobs for a long time. And I went and looked at their resume, and they probably had like 3 calls over several years of applying to jobs. And so I worked with them on their resume, tweaking it, making it better. Sometimes it's just formatting. Sometimes it's just little details here and there. And I met up with that person again to go over interview, because that's the next step. And I was told that they couldn't figure out why all of a sudden they were getting phone calls, three phone calls a week to ask them to come interview. And then it dawned on them that I had worked with them to revise their resume, and now it's getting noticed. Now it's getting picked out of the pile, and they are getting called in for interviews. So that's why we're meeting about interviews. So I know that it's only a matter of time before this person gets the job that they want. And I'm very excited about that. So more than anything, it's just demystifying the process, making you feel confident, comfortable, and helping you figure out how to put your best foot forward. So that's what I like to do with students. So some of the things that I wanted to kind of go over, and if there's anything that any of you, if you have questions along the way, please put them in the chat. So I want you to know that for sure, the job search process starts way before you ever get to that job post to apply for it. It starts with everything you're doing every day, building your network, getting involved in things, building your experiences, taking on professional development when you can. And I know that when you're a student, you've got a lot of things going on, right? You're in class and you're doing this and you're doing that, but being able to build that resume with clubs and organizations involvement, going to student leadership conferences. I even have those on my resume because those are things I learned from those. I went to those. And so I tell students, put that on your resume that you went to a student leadership conference. It is a real conference. And I talk about, if you can go to any trainings, if you can boost that at all, do volunteer projects, start a club, any of those things are really going to help you stand out. So, that's my old student life hat, obviously, and Chris can give you more information if you want to get involved in anything. But get into some things that you can put on your resume. If you're really involved in a faith organization or a church, something like that, put those things down, the volunteer things that you've done. If you've, been working in the nursery, or you helped organize a youth football league or something like that, all those things show your ability to lead a team and be a leader. Communication is a big piece. So putting those things down on your resume is a big deal. And that, I will also say, goes into applying for schools. They want to see, some of these schools really want to see students who are actively involved, students who will enrich their campus community. That is a big deal as well. Okay, so it starts before you even look at the job post, and that's building those experience. The first thing that you want to do, and this is something that goes on in the SDV course, is to build a resume. Like, just whatever you have now, put on a resume. And that's what that resume builder will do for you and help you kind of organize your thoughts. But you want a base resume that has absolutely everything that you've ever done on it. You want something that's like the, history book that you go in that has the whole timeline of everything. You're not always going to send a full resume with absolutely everything that you've ever done on it, because over time, if you're doing it right, it's going to get really big. So you want to make sure that what you're putting on your resume is relevant for the job, but you need to remember, hey, I had that job from this year to this year, and these are the things that I had. So when you need that experience to pull out in a resume, you can. So I like to tell people to build a base resume to just put everything on it. What's the best way to remember everything you've done? Keep track of it. That is difficult. I'm not like the most organized person on this planet, I will say. I know how I work and how I operate, and that's one of the things that you have to do throughout your life, is figure out how you need to operate to get by. So I have always had a desk planner, and in my desk planner, I put trainings or certain things that were coming up, student leadership conference on this date, trauma training on this date, and I would put in those things. So then what I would do is, every 6 months or a year, or when you go to apply for a job again, you pull out your desk planner, and you look through and you go back and you're like, oh, okay, I did that training and I did that training. So I have a record of what I've done. If you're an electronic person, please don't try to get a desk planner and write in it, because it's probably outside of what you would normally do. And so it may just lay there and you won't use it. But that was something that I had learned early on, was I write down my events in a planner so I can see them, especially when I was in student life. And then I will go back after the year's over to look at planning my next year and look and see what I've done. So you just have to figure out what the best way is for you to keep track of it. But putting it into that master resume is a really good way to do it. And if you can do it as, when you're scheduling or right after it happens, that way you don't miss it. Okay, so the question is, should you get rid of old events as you add newer ones? There is this idea that your resume is only one page, and that's the way it used to be when it was printed out and you would just walk down the street and hand it to businesses. You would just have a one-page resume. You want your resume to be really readable, easy to understand what everything is. But my resume is a 3-page resume, and that's because I have so much on it that is pulling from different things. So as long as what you put on it builds the story and is relevant, and more importantly is formatted beautifully, it's okay to be more than one page. And so especially as you're getting going and you're getting things built up, and you'll start to figure out how to edit it down so that it's not so big. So like maybe you really want to highlight that you went to this conference because you're young and you're trying to make it pop out a little more. But then as you get older and you've gone to 100 conferences, you just list them. These are the conferences I went to, right? So it gets smaller in that way, but also bigger because you've done more. So I guess that answer is, it depends. I don't put my movie theater job that I had when I was in high school on my resume. I also don't include when I was working at Office Max when I was in high school. I kind of have just started with whatever is relevant. And because I've worked at Laurel Ridge for such a long time, I like to be able to put my first job at Laurel Ridge was when I worked in the printing services department. So that was in 2009. But when somebody looks at my resume, they can tell that I started out there in the printing services department as a part-time employee, and I have moved up to an advisor and a career services person. And I went and did graduate school in the meantime. And so you can see that I have developed this loyalty and longevity with one organization. And that's kind of a story that I like to build. So it does depend on what kind of story you're trying to build. Good question, Athena. So next, I kind of like to talk about the job postings. You know, when you're getting ready to look for jobs, the job posting is very important. You want to be able to pull that job posting and look and tailor that resume with keywords and different things of that nature. So if you're looking at, let's just go to, oh, we have a lot of openings, so I'll pull up one from us. So job opportunities at the college under quick links, if you ever need to apply for a job here. And then you put in Laurel Ridge and then search and then scroll down. So, okay, there are all kinds of jobs here. So let's look at any preferences. Anybody have a preference of which one to look at? Maybe this help desk one. We're going to view the details. Okay, so there's a lot in a job post. It's very helpful when organizations put a salary. And I will say that there are some organizations that don't put salaries, and that is unfortunate because sometimes you don't want to waste your time on something that is not going to pay you what you want to be paid. So anyway, this has a salary. And then down here, you've got a lot of information. So there's information about telework, compensation, and this is a very long-winded post, but you want to read these posts because they have very important information in here, especially if you're not familiar with the organization. So if you're in a different state and you're trying to apply to Laurel Ridge Community College, you want to know all of these things about the college so that you can get acclimated. And then when you scroll down, so KSAs or required qualifications. These are your knowledge, skills, and abilities. And these are the things that you want to highlight probably the most. So a lot of times what I like to do in a resume is I like to look at what the KSAs are, and I like to make sure that they are front and center on that resume. And then if you have the preferred qualifications, you also want to highlight those. And you can do that in a couple of ways. You can put that, front and center on your resume, and you can also mention it in your cover letter. Now, sometimes when you go to apply for a job, it will say cover letter optional. Here is a really neat trick. Cover letter is not optional. It should never be optional. You should always, always, always submit a cover letter. And the reason is because they want more information about you, not less. And your cover letter fills in the gaps where your resume maybe doesn't explain everything. So like if you have a gap in your job history, maybe you left to go take care of somebody and now you're back in the workforce, or there are other things that you want to point out and really explain to the hiring committee as to why you are the best one that they should pull in for an interview. So never, never, never skip an opportunity. And that includes a cover letter. Okay. So these are going to be the most important things, these KSAs and preferred qualifications, are going to be the most important. Now, what happens if you don't have something? That's okay. Not everybody has everything all the time. You want to be able to show that you can make up for not having something. And that includes when you're answering interview questions. If you're asked something you don't know the answer to, the answer is to say that you are somebody who can be taught. You are somebody who has picked things up before. You can talk about, times that you've, been able to learn something new. They want to show that you want to show that you're adaptable and that you can pick up new skills, that you're willing to be trained in order to do the job well. So, don't get scared of something just because you maybe are missing a qualification. That's okay. Okay. And then, yeah, so even the college will say upload a cover letter. This is optional, but recommended. It should not be optional. It should be, this is required. Okay. And the resume, this is optional, but recommended. Please give them all the information that they need. Unofficial transcripts. I mean, if they want the information, if they're mentioning it here, put it in there. Okay. Any questions about anything that I'm telling you about? So sometimes I get asked where to find jobs. Where's a good place to find jobs? And that is a struggle, I think. You've got some like mom and pop shops out here handing out flyers for jobs. You've got some people on Indeed, which is a site. You've got Career Coach, which is our website that you go on to look for work opportunities. There's also working for state and local governments are sometimes, really good jobs. I know that working for the college, working as a state employee is usually pretty well respected, and you get good benefits working for the government. I know that different counties, you can go to their websites and look at their different job postings and things like that. If there are organizations that you know of in your area that you kind of want to check out, like I know we have Trex is right down the road and some of the other places like that. They also do career fairs. So looking on, newspaper sites, they will post community events on newspaper sites. I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, just building that network. And then people will also ask on community sites on Facebook or social media. They'll say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Anybody know of any openings? And usually you'll get like the, local restaurants and things like that. But sometimes, you might hear about a CPA who's looking for help or something like that. So do I have any questions? Anything? I don't really know that I have too much else to go into. You can always contact me. My email is Spangle, like Star Spangle with no D on the end, spangle@laurelridge.edu. You can go to that career coach. You can type in career services and scroll down, and you can go through this contact thing. You can also talk to your advisor. So when you meet with your student advisor, if they kind of recommend me sometimes to their students, and they can put you on my calendar. So they can just go in, find a date that works for you, and just put you on my calendar so I can meet with you. I usually like to have a full hour to talk to students because there's a lot you gotta dig through. And if you have, a resume or something you want to send me, you can send it to me. I'll look over it. I help students write essays for scholarships. I help them with scholarship interviews. So, get in touch with me. Don't be afraid of me. I'm here. I've been here a long time. I love working with students, and I can't wait to meet you. All right, Chris, you got anything?
All right. Any last minute questions for Sarah from either one of you? I do want to say, oh, well, thank yous. I do want to say thank you, Sarah. Also make sure you guys check out the career services page and check out those job openings. There's a ton of jobs out there.
Mhm.
And then I want to remind you about, let me pull it up first. For attending today's session, make sure that you complete the entry form found at laurelridge.edu/summer series. Make sure you complete the form for today and any other sessions that you have attended and enter to win a $100 Visa gift card. We are giving 3 of these out. So you have a really good chance of winning. Entries must be submitted no later than August the 15th. And then we will announce our 3 winners in Leo's weekly update email on August 22nd, which is the first day of classes. All right, everybody. Thank you for attending and have a good one. Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome.